Welcome to the Lucky 13 podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mike Lantz.
And I'm the other, Josh Hauser.
He's the math major.
I am the math major. Okay, so how long does this say right there?
Yeah, we're going to 37.
Okay, because earlier we were like, it says 15, so that means we're going to go to, and you paused and said like 35. The 20, the added 20 to 30 to 15 was it was throwing you for a second.
Well, the people and profit thing here. I'm the people and you're the profit.
Oh, got it.
side
I was
of
going to
things.
say, I thought maybe we're going to have to start wearing open-toed shoes so you use the toes.
No,
to
it is.
finish the counting.
We are recording at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is not
It is.
normal.
It is.
But at least I didn't pull out my phone here and actually say, let me get the calculator
I
out.
was like, holy, where'd you go to school again?
Yeah. I thought that's the one you'd step through because I am a distinguished graduate of the Indiana University.
Which means you color gooder. So sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't
Anyway,
say that. All right,
welcome back. Welcome back.
Holy
So
smokes!
yeah, I mean, I think both of we've been doing a lot of traveling. So why
Yes.
don't you? We talked about it in a couple of episodes about this massive trip to Disney that the Hauser clan was doing. Tell them you're back. You're live.
I'll give the 45 seconds. All of us showed up. We were all there. We took an amazing picture, all of us, with the Easter Bunny. And all my kids had their abs out, and I stood in the back. I stood right behind everybody and just kind of leaned into the picture because those are kids who really focus in on the workouts, and I was focusing on the buffet, and it showed well. But no, amazing trip. Just, you know how it's nice just to unplug and be with your family. And part of People and Profit is just knowing when you got to get away and just unplug. So, yeah.
Well, I've only met a few of your kids, but like one of the things that always strikes me as I see pictures and things like that is how much care and concern your older kids have for the younger ones.
They do.
And how much your younger ones look up to your older ones.
Yeah, that's I'll give all credit to the wife on that. She's really built a community inside the household where we all take care of each other. We say good morning to each other, send sunrise pictures. Our daughter Chatham's the one who says goodnight to everybody, and everybody says goodnight off Chatham's on our text string.
It's like what's the show?
The Waltons.
The Waltons.
Yeah.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night,
That's
Mary
correct.
Ellen.
Yeah. So that's just important for us. At the end of the day, we all know that, right? Is that, it's your inner circle in your family that's going to matter, and so we just want to keep that tight.
Yeah. And then so you got back from that, left the next day, and went to the EOS conference.
Yeah, got back
user.
for a day, went to EOS conference in San Diego. Kudos to EOS, put on a great conference. Kudos to our Invest team, really put on a great show out there. Met a lot of great people. Really encourage all of our listeners, if you're even self-implementing or implementing, go to that conference next year. I think it's in D.C.
It is.
Just always such good breakouts, such good speakers. And got back from that at 2 a.m. on Saturday, and my wife wanted to fly out at 5 a.m. on Saturday to go help our oldest son move to Lackland Air Force Base. So I had about 2 hours at home with her, and then we high-fived and took her right back to the airport. And she got home last night about 12 o'clock in the morning. So.
And when does he move?
He moves on Saturday or Sunday this week, 24th. So he is living on an air mattress with a TV and a griddle right now.
Little interesting factoid about Lackland Air Force Base.
Okay.
First off, is it still the only place that airmen go to do basic training? Used to be that way.
That is unlisted airman. Yeah. Of course, if you're in the academy,
you went to the
but
academy.
that is correct. That is correct.
So I took a year off between high school and college, and I joined a group called Up With People, and I played in their band for a year. I played trumpet in their band.
Okay.
Well, so we had this. We went to San Antonio to do a show. I was part of the front promo team, so I was there for like 3 weeks. And so we thought it'd be a really great experience for all the people in our cast to actually go through the confidence course at Lackland
Did
Air
you
Force
really?
Base. So I actually did it, and I completed it.
There
now,
you
I
go.
was 18 when it happened.
There you go.
Couldn't do it today.
Yeah, I was going to
but-
say, you want to go try that again?
No,
we
I
can
do
get a run
not.
for that. I think
I
that
do
would be
not.
worth a we got 20 minutes. We can video that.
Yeah,
guy.
that we're not going to do. Well, it would take me much longer than 20 minutes, I think, to get through it now.
Awesome stuff.
Awesome. Well, that's really great. Great to hear that your family's doing well. And you have a high school graduate coming
We
up,
do.
too.
Yeah, we're mid-season track season, and had a good start to the year so far. And we are 6 weeks away from having 4 done, which most people would be like done, and we get to say we're half done. So we'll take it.
Awesome.
We'll take it.
All right, well, let's jump in here. We were talking earlier about you. Speaking of travel, you're leaving again tomorrow.
Yeah, I've been
for
home for
Florida.
a couple days.
So, and you talked about this process, this quarterly community event, and it's intriguing me. And so let's talk a little bit more about that. This is not a quarterly EOS session or something like that. This is something totally different. But let's dig into this a little bit because as you were unpacking what's going to go on there, it just kind of struck me as a really great setup and a really great idea for other business owners and how they might think about incorporating their, some other people in their organization into a quarterly event?
Yeah. So as you think about all things people and profit, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes what we believe, and I hate the word sometimes, I know that we need those intentional check-ins that aren't in that formal setting, if you will. And so the quarterly community event is really based off of, let's get everybody off site. There's no home court for anybody.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to Sarasota this year for first quarter, and then I think we're going to Arizona third quarter.
And who's attending
So
this?
we're taking all of our sales leaders. So all of our top advisors are going. So there'll be 20 of us total there. And we all descend in on Wednesday. And Wednesday is really about just the camaraderie and collaboration of fun. So we got half the group going golf and half the group are going to go lay out in the sun, because Indiana, although we are getting sun right now, Tampa's sun's a little bit different. Sit by the pool. But it's really, we do a pre-meeting that we did yesterday, which was all about marketing, so that everybody can lean into, hey, I want to hear more about what you're doing with the social media, or I want to hear more about what you're doing with the Lunch and Learns. And so we do that just to set the table. And so we'll go on Wednesday, and then we'll have dinner together, break bread, fellowship. And then we really lean into the next day with an intentional format of how do we get better as individuals, how do we get closer and find better collaboration partners, and how do I walk out of there with one or two new ideas, one or two fixes, and one or two I got to shares because the group needed to hear that.
Yeah. So let's dive in a little bit more. So you're taking 18, and then a couple of you guys are going down to help facilitate it. Of these 18, how many people are salespeople or producers total outside of those 18?
All of them are, all 18 are producers total. So
yeah, but you have producers other than those 18 inside of Invest. Is this like a reward thing to be able to attend this?
No, this was...
So anybody can come
Anybody.
to this.
And to be honest, I think we have 5 that couldn't attend. Our goal is that you have to attend 3 out of 4 every year.
Okay.
And so we got some that have family issues, setups. But 18 of our 23 licensed advisors will all be together down there.
So why don't we break down an agenda of this a little bit, and everybody can kind of take note of these things, because I think again, this is a great application. I'm already thinking with our Serve company, we're doing these quarterlies as well, and I think you just made my life a little bit easier, because I think I've got the agenda. I
love it. Love it.
So you start out with what you call high-low buffalo. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So by the way, if you're listening, please use this with your kids when they get in the car. So what high-low buffalo is just simply, rather than say, how's it going? That's the normal question. What do we always answer? How was school today? How was work? Our normal answer is fine and good. Yeah. We start with high-low buffalo because it forces the conversation into, what's your high? What's the best thing that's happened in the last 90 days? Okay. What's your low? What's the thing that, you just got to say it out loud, right? You buried the pain down. Let's get the pain up and get it out of your face meat. Yeah. And then the buffalo, if you woke up with a buffalo on your porch this morning, probably pretty unexpected, right? Yeah. And so we do the buffalo. And so each person goes around for 1 minute. So the
buffalo is what has been unexpected this quarter?
Did not expect to happen in this 90 days.
So it could be good or bad.
Could be good, could be bad, right?
Yeah.
If you 90 days ago, if you would have said you were going to say this out loud, you'd think you were crazy that you were going to say this out loud. Yeah. And sometimes that buffalo has some negativity that has some pull, and sometimes it has some positive. But what it does for the group is just level set where everybody's at on their personal life. And so we do this, by the way, with our kids. When they get in the car, we don't ask how practice was anymore. The question is high-low buffalo. Well, here's my high practice. Here's my low practice. Because they know moms and dads want to hear, what are you struggling with, yada, yada, yada. And they want to hear all the great things. Yeah. And the kids now are prepped, and we don't get to the practice fine, practice good, practice great.
They're giving you the high, the low, and the unexpected.
The buffalo is my favorite part. What didn't you expect? You get some weird things. Yeah. So we start with that, just to level set. And it just, first of all, gets everybody talking, gets everybody practicing listening. And then I know where you were at. So if you went through a low and I'm having a breakout session with you, I'm keeping that a little bit in my mind because obviously we have a lot of people who practice in prayer or what have you, and I want to make sure they add those too.
Yeah, got it. Okay, high-low buffalo's first step. Second is mindset check.
Yeah, so we do 2 things in the mindset check. One is we'll have some sort of lesson of what our thought or word is for the day. Concept, we're going to really work on the concept of quantum or the B state, if you will. That'll be the form for this meeting. And then the second thing is everybody just checks in, just from the accountability measurables. How many rocks did they get done? What were their AUM goals or whatever their sales goals were? And all they do is just do a read off of those numbers. Just here's where I'm at. And doesn't, again, we're not in judgment zone. It's just let's get the curiosity on the table, because it's going to open up conversations for later.
Yeah. Okay. So high-low buffalo, mindset check. Then we go into small group. And you talk about what's great, help, and idea. So tell us a little bit more about the small group breakouts.
Yeah, so let's think about you and I and 2 other partners are sitting around the table. And so what we're going to do is each one of us are going to take 20 to 25 minutes. And the great is if I'm sitting in your chair, Mike, and whoever else I'll partner with, I would do this and tell you my great idea, the great thing that's working for me. It's just sharing. It's one of those that, look, I'm not forcing upon you, and it's not from an ego side. It's just I want to see you have success, and I'm having massive success with this. 2 is the help, and the help is as I walked in today, as I was planning my trip here, when I was thinking about what I wanted to get out of this is the one thing I need help with, and it could be I need help seeing people, I need help closing, or I need help with language, whatever it is, and let's just get the help question out. The reality is most of the time the help question ends up on the master board at the end that we'll talk about in a second. Yeah. And then the I is the idea. I have an idea that I've been thinking about, and I just wanted to use you 3 to bounce it off of. And in 20 minutes, what happens is I get to give you a great idea. I get to ask you for big help. And then I get to throw an idea out there to see if we can brainstorm it for later. Mm-hmm. And what happens in the group is that some of that transcends over to the larger group later, and some of it just becomes this intimate relationship that we all dig in and lean in. It's a sort of a therapy consultant / I'm just here to listen part all at the same time.
How do you find that people are doing a good job preparing to come to this, or is that's all? I mean, we're talking about salespeople first off, right? But I think the way that the agenda is set up is if people aren't prepared and they're not really leaning in, it could fall a little flat.
We talked about that yesterday. If you're going to reach back in your crack and just pull something out, well, that's what it's going to smell like. So let's not do that. Let's actually prepare. So we send out a pre-document. We go over the information before, right? But what you put into it's what you're going to get out of it. Mm-hmm. And so we say that. So if you're walking in and you're not walking in with a clear, this is what I need help with, well, you're going to walk out saying it's not a good use of time. Or if you're not walking in with your numbers and you're going to make them up, well, we can go check your numbers. So don't do that.
Yeah.
And so this is where the accountability part of, peer accountability is important. And so the meeting goes as well as the preparation is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So high-low Buffalo mindset check in a small group. What if I was sitting in your chair, this is what I would go do. Here's some areas you need help. Here's an idea I'm thinking about. Next, now we're transitioning into the afternoon, and you have an advisor teach.
Yeah, we just have one advisor. If somebody volunteers, like, hey, I've got a great concept, it's working, it's one of those greats. But rather than just doing a small group, this is where you're putting yourself out there. You're being vulnerable. But I've got one that we all need to lean into.
Yeah.
And so it's always awesome when one advisor raises their hand or one sales leader says, hey, I'm doing something that we should all do, and I want to share that with the group.
Yeah. And is that like you already know who the advisor
teach is going to be?
You already know who it is.
He volunteered 90 days ago. And usually we'll try to get the volunteer at this meeting. So when we in that meeting, who's going to teach the next one? And that gives 90 days because then they can say, what does the group want? What are you looking for? I've got something I really want to teach, but I want to make sure it's relevant.
Yeah.
And so that I always feel like that's one of the biggest parts is that one voice teacher, because it gets all arrows, all human energy looking at the same thing, the same direction, looking to use the same tools.
Yeah, and you're bringing in advisors, and they're all out selling and that sort of thing, and so they're a little independent and things like that. But for companies, the way they can apply this, we just had our quarterly last Friday, and we had somebody come in and teach. Actually, one of our employees is certified in Working Genius.
Oh, I love it.
And so we spent 2 hours going through that. So that's how some companies could do it, is say, this is something I want my employees to really understand, and you find somebody inside your organization.
Yeah, we got guys who are part of Strategic Coach. We got people who go to True You, who could bring that information in and say, hey, I know I'm the only one who's been part of the group who's gone, but I want to share it with the group.
Yeah, good. Okay. And then IDS, and this is an EOS concept.
Correct.
And if you're not running EOS, this is basically problem solving, right? Is. So why don't you walk through what the IDS process really is for people that aren't familiar with it?
So there's 2 IDSs that we run. We will not run a town hall IDS in here. A town hall is what's in the greater good for the firm. Does that make sense? And we do those here in the office, and we do the whole company comes together. This is IDS on practice management. And so when we were doing those helps and those ideas, those are going to make it to our IDS board. And then anything else anybody has needs help with. So if I raise my hand and say, I'm just not seeing enough people, we're going to put that on the IDS board and just let the group pour in with, have you thought about, have you tried, what's the last time? And just really you get peppered with questions for about 5 minutes. And then usually the answer starts to bring itself out in those situations. What we're trying to do is solve individual practice problems with the group's energy all at the same time, because somebody's gone through it that somebody else is going. They go, I understand how you feel. You know what? I felt the same way. Here's what I found.
Yeah.
And so we really look at our IDS as being a feel, felt, found opportunity, that wherever somebody else is in their life, somebody's been there and they can feel, felt, found them out of there.
Yeah. And so for those people who don't know what IDS is, why don't you walk through actually what those three elements are?
The first thing on the I is identify. And to me, that's the most important part. Identify the root of what I'm trying to get, what I'm trying to solve. And so most people will either tell a long-winded story, or what I like to say is in 2 sentences, get me to the root of what you want. Like if we were sitting here and this was solved, what are you identifying as the solve that you need? The discussion is the opportunities that you have to solve it. Most people think the discussion is the long part. I think the identify is the long part. It should be about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If it's a 7-minute solve, 5 minutes is an identifying. Okay, let me ask another question. Let me get clear. Can you help me a little bit? Have you tried?
Yeah.
We're asking. We're curiosity. The D, the discuss, is the discussing the possible solutions. Yeah. Have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about doing that? And then we list those. And then the solve is, I'm going to do that and I'm going to do that. The solve is, I'm going to do something, which is why we call those to-dos. And the solve would be, out of that discussion, we're going to take that and do something.
So I've participated in a lot of IDSs and led some of them. And one of the, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the identify is the key thing, because so much of the time we're solving for the wrong problem.
Correct.
We're not peeling back the onion and going, what's really the problem we're solving for?
Correct.
And so I think that's
you nailed
key.
that. I can't. I always say, go 2 questions deep, and there's probably 2 more questions. And if you go 2 questions deep on whatever they identified, and you just ask questions, most of the time the answer actually bubbles to the top. But if you're staying surface level, you have no idea what's at the bottom of that iceberg.
Yeah. Okay. So then we do IDS, then you do a checkout. What are the elements of the checkout?
Yeah, checkout's pretty simple. It's just we got to be great predictors. There's 5 leadership abilities that we believe in. You got to be great at simplifying. If you're not simplifying everything you do, then it's making it hard. Hopefully this makes sense as we're talking to our listeners, how we simplify the process. If you're not delegating, you got to quit doing the things that you're not good at or you don't get paid well for. You got to get that off your plate. Number 3 is predict. If you're not good at predicting, right? If you don't know your numbers, somebody else will. If you don't control your calendar, somebody else will. And then 3 and 4 is, do you have a great structure? And then do you have great systems, processes? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So back to the predict, what we really work on as we check out is let's predict. Here's my 3 to 5 things I'm working on next quarter. We use the term rocks. Here are what I feel, know, believe. I want to get out of those think, believe states and really get into the know states. But knowing what I know, I believe I'm going to be at XYZ in sales and XYZ in new assets and XYZ in revenue. And all we're doing is by speaking it to truth, by having peers accountable. Now I'm, once I say it out loud, once I say I'm going to lose 10 pounds publicly, I kind of feel like I got to start losing that 10 pounds, especially if I'm going to check in 90 days.
Yeah, next quarter's coming, and it's it's in Florida, and they're going to have to take the shirt off.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, some of them are. Yeah, I'm going to say I'm putting on 10 pounds. I'm going to tell them I'm putting on 10 pounds, and then I'll take off my shirt and show them. But that's where that really comes to. Really what we're trying to do is getting you think about, let me identify. I love this as a blind zebra. I got to do a pipeline clean out, right? And really dig into my pipeline. Do I have great, clear future dates? And then really start leaning into those numbers going to be predictable that I can actually answer to.
Yeah, I think sometimes. So I love this. I love this process, and I think sometimes leaders don't know necessarily how to make a day the most effective, and they just kind of throw it together because they think they have to do it. So I think this is really valuable that we've been able to outline this. I would encourage all of our listeners, if you're a CEO or a leader of a company, just copy this. We're. No shame in copy, right?
No,
and
God,
so
great ideas are borrowed. Fantastic ideas are stolen.
This is a quarterly community event. The agenda is high-low Buffalo, mindset check, small group. You break out in small group and you ask what's going really great. And this is a chance for people to say, if I were you, I would go do this. Where do you need help? And what are some great ideas that you've had that you want more feedback on? There's an advisor teach or a learning. Let's call it a learning segment. Then IDS. Problem solving, and then your checkout. It's real simple. It's an 8-hour day?
8 hours is the max. We're gonna go. We always say we're gonna be done by 5.
Yeah,
5 o'clock's our hard stop. So 4:45, I start moving to check to what we call rank the meeting. Yeah. We just always got to rank a meeting when you're done.
Yeah, awesome, love it. So challenge everybody. start planning it now for the end of Q2.
Absolutely.
And a really great agenda, really great outline, and hopefully it's helpful for people.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate the feedback you gave me on that as well.